Hi. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Just excited, ready, ready and waiting.
Well, listen, first of all, thank you for jumping on so early the morning after the casting crew screening as well. So much appreciation.
No worry, man. Thank you for having me.
Listen, just before we get into Supercell as well, I never got the chance to say this, a few years ago now, but Blue Story was an absolutely brilliant and powerful and beautiful film. So huge
Thank you.
congratulations on that. Yeah, it was a very special moment, not for many reasons, but being introduced to the talents of Michael Ward within that as well was a lovely gift.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that, man. And it never gets old to hear a compliment about Blue Story. I thought that's the reason why I'm saying it. That's the reason why I'm saying it today. So yeah, that movie holds
Is
dear.
it?
Yeah, yeah, honestly, like they came, Netflix saw the movie, they came to the premiere, and they was just like, okay, we want to be in the Rapman business. And we're like, oh, luckily Rapman's open.
Wow.
So yeah.
Did you already have the idea then? Was Supercell already in some kind of like gestation in your brain, in your head, or already on paper by that point?
Nothing on paper, but I was doing promotion for the booth for the movie, and the promotion piece we was doing, it was the cast interview. We was all interviewing each other, me and the cast, and I got asked, "What are you gonna do next? Like, are you always gonna do this journey?" I said, "I don't mind the journey, but I want to do a sci-fi version." And I started talking about Supercell before it was called Supercell. It was just this idea of normal people with powers that do normal things,
Yeah.
and yeah, I spoke it out for the first time, 2019. Then I started writing it in the lockdown in 2020.
Well, sometimes you've got to manifest things by saying them out loud. It almost kind of gives you, when you hear it being said out loud, it gives you the kind of not confidence, but kind of like, yeah, this could work.
Yeah, and then literally from there, I started writing it, and I started writing it from 2020 and didn't stop until it was finished.
Wow. It's so brilliant. It's so many things, and what I love about it is that love is at the real core of so much of this story. These kind of these characters are all kind of protecting something or someone they love in a way, and that's kind of almost the manifestation of these powers and kind of where it kind of comes from in a way.
Yeah.
But for you, your relationship with the kind of that genre of superheroes goes way back, doesn't it? You've been a big fan of the sort of that superhero sci-fi genre since you were a kid.
Yeah, I used to love the power, bam, Batman. I used to love that. That's the first Batman I was introduced to. I used to love that with Batman and Robin. Then when the movie
Yeah,
started coming years and years later, I was really excited about that. I always loved the thought of having powers. It was always just like growing up in the background that I did. You just wanted any sort of power, so you could be more than what you were. So powers was like an escape. So I love the genre, but I just never felt it spoke to reality of just what any normal person would do if they got powers. Like, I'm not thinking if I get powers today, I'm gonna get a spandex suit, get a mask, and then try to stop people from falling down somewhere around the world. I'm thinking, okay, how can I get further in my career, help my family out and myself financially, sort out us first, and then let's talk about the charity we could do for others. But it seems that for some reason we've been told the same story. You get powers, you save the world. You get powers, you save the world. And I understand great powers comes with great responsibility. But if you get powers, your problems don't all suddenly just change, and that's what I like about the show. They don't just get better. The problems are still there. If anything, they get worse.
yeah. Well, it's that idea. I like that kind of thing of starting off small. Starting off kind of with the things and the people that are closest to you, and then once you've got the heart of your kind of community or house in order, then it's kind of looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly that. Exactly that.
But there was, I loved you referencing, I saw that you'd referenced Heroes as being something as well, because I feel like that was kind of, I literally could not get enough of that show when it originally came out. I felt like it was like something really different. It was kind of, not totally in your kind of idea of kind of normal people, and there still was an element of that kind of elevation of superheroes. But I feel like that was a great show. It was really different, wasn't it? It kind of
Love
really stood out.
I loved Heroes. That was a massive inspiration for Supercell because it was the only thing I could think about that got closest to my vision of what people would do with powers. Because there was no capes and costumes in that. They were normal people, especially the first two seasons. But I
Yeah,
still felt it was a bit, as you say, it was a bit heightened. So I loved the show,
yeah.
massive fan. But I always knew if I could ever get into a position to tell a version of a story with people with powers, I want it to be a lot more grounded. I want it to be a lot more about the people than the powers, you know. And I think in Heroes, as much as I loved it, the powers were played a bit more of a part because you didn't know their personal struggles as much. You just knew that this power was coming and people was chasing them because of it. Whereas with Supercell, it's more about the people and the threat is simmering, but it's not the primary focus as the moment. It's more about how it affects their lives and what their day to day is. I did love Heroes.
Where did you? Yeah, it's a
I
great
missed,
show.
yeah.
Where did you start? What was the starting point for you in terms of, this the idea of writing something like this that was episodic, that involved a number of characters, that it was absolutely steeped in reality and real life, but then having that element that would come in terms of navigating how you wrote that. Talk to me a little bit about the kind of creation of the characters and the story and how that worked for you.
Um, well, first of all, when I started writing it, I wanted it to be a movie, but when it just
Yeah,
didn't fit in, it just didn't fit into the first. It didn't fit into the 2 hour window, I suppose you can call it. And I realized it had to be a series, and I've never written TV before, but I've done episodic things on YouTube, so I thought, okay, I can do it. But then the breaking it, then it's kind of like I would take walks in lockdown with me and my son. He was young, he was about 9 at the time, because you could only really take
yeah,
walks. And we was first thing I was like, okay, what type of powers would we want to have in this show? So I put all the powers used to be my favorite powers, telepathy, strength, speed, and then it was kind of like, okay, what type of characters should have these powers? Like, who are going to be the heroes? Is it one person? So we broke down. So we were on the powers first, then we went to the characters. So we had our people, we had powers, and then it was like, okay, what's the story? Why are we going to care about what they're doing? Why should we care about these with powers? What's the difference between these guys and Superman and Spider Man and it was just make them normal. And it was just a process, man. It was like months focusing on the characters, months focusing on the powers, months focusing on the plot and the story. It was a long process. It was deep because the writers we had two writers' rooms at first. We had one
yeah,
writer's room that failed, in the sense of not failed because they weren't great writers, but the process didn't work with the story I was trying to tell. We got another group
yeah,
of writers, great writers, still just wasn't giving that South London story. It was hard to. I don't know if I was explaining it well enough for them to be able to write it. I thought if you're not from South London, it's hard to explain what I want from it. So I remember just thinking,
yeah,
okay, so two writers' rooms have failed. I just had a green light lost on my last movie that I was doing with Russell Crowe, and it's looking like I could lose this potential green light on this series because I give it to Netflix. They were really patient. Two writers' room fails and no great scripts have come out of it. A lot of networks will probably be like, tried, we tried. Can't say we didn't try. Good luck for your career. But there's that look, we
yeah.
still very positive that there's something here. But what
Amazing.
can we do if the writers ain't working? So I said, I'll just write myself. And I said that in a way hoping that they was gonna push back and be like, no, you've never written TV before. I'm saying I'm gonna write myself. And they looked at each other and said, great, we love that. Okay, let us know when you got something for us to see. I was like, oh my gosh, I was just committed to write every single episode of a series, and I've never written TV. It was a hard year for me because I was literally writing 6 days a week, every single day, and they would get a script every fortnight. No, it's
Wow.
not ready. No, it's not ready. Getting better. Getting better. Oh, it's nearly there. We really like this one. And it was such trial and error because I'm writing, sending, writing, sending, writing,
Wow.
sending. Came so much, I was doing too much for them. It was like, we need the chance to read it, Raps. You got to give us a minute. And then eventually, once I got like 50 drafts of episode one, maybe 50 drafts of that because the pilot's always the most important to the networks. And then from
Yeah,
there on, once you kind of get one in a way where they're happy, it gets easier because you're in the zone. Because I've been writing non-stop every single day for months. I'm just in that writing zone now. Like all I'm doing is writing. I'm not watching anything. Well, I'm not watching. I'm just writing, 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 writing. So it was a hard process though because you're getting six set of notes. You do one movie, you get one batch of notes. I feel like I've got six movie worth of notes, and it was just like is it ever ready? And you know it's actually never ready because you're right. I remember shooting on set, going home and having to do a rewrite of a scene for tomorrow because there was a problem that they thought this doesn't make sense, this is not working or whatever. So it actually never ends. It never ends. You're right
Wow.
until the day. Yeah. So it was crazy.
Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's like, but that's also really, it's really, I don't know, encouraging to hear that, like you say, like a big streamer like Netflix has got the patience and the belief in you that they're encouraging you, keep at it, go back, in terms of that's, I think a lot of people's, ideas of something like that would be, if it's not right the first time, then let's move on sort of thing.
Really,
But that's
honestly, it
really,
wouldn't be.
that's really encouraging.
That's a big credit to the commissioners. They just really saw they loved the idea. They understood the concept, and it wasn't something they wanted to just. They didn't want to give up on it early. They was like, just give it a try. I think if I would have came back with a bad script on my first try, I think they would have had to close the door. But yeah, they stuck in there, man. So I've got a lot of admiration for them for that.
I also love the fact and that idea of you and your son on walks coming up with the ideas for this. That is so gorgeous.
Yeah, it was hell.
So lovely.
That's why when you see the Andre storyline with his son, it's kind of like a reflection of just me and Jenny as a dad trying to make sure I keep my kids on the right track. So yeah, that was good. Like there wasn't really much to do in lockdown, so those walks were like, okay, we've got these ideas now. I'm gonna go in. We're gonna start writing. So it was fun. It was a fun time when I think about it for that creativity part of it. Anyway,
Yeah, it's also lovely as well because I've got two boys myself. That idea that they almost keep you childlike. They remind you to be childlike, and they remind you of those things that you loved as a child, whether it be superhero movies or the powers that you would, all that kind of stuff. It's so lovely to have that
yeah,
person that can encourage you to do that.
yeah, no, it is, man. My kids definitely keep me on the go, and it was a fun process creating it with him just briefly as we're walking, and those were memories that he's always gonna have, and I'm always gonna have.
Yeah, lovely. Now, listen, just before we get on to music, which is such a big part of the show, and obviously, it's such a big part of your world. But I imagine one of the brilliant going back to that almost childlike thing as well for you is within this show is creating those kind of big moments. This is a big show. This is kind of London like we've never seen it.
Mhm.
And I love that you've done that. But these kind of big stunts and all that, it's kind of like it's so exciting. Was that a big moment for you in terms of creating those and directing those and seeing those come into life?
I remember when one day I came to set to shoot. I don't know. At the end of the pilot, you see all our characters in Piccadilly. It's like them in the future. And I remember
Hmm.
coming on set and walking on, and there is 30-foot, 360 green screen, all the road on on the floor. They built the whole floor of Piccadilly. I remember thinking, this is crazy. How did it go from inside here to be looking up at 360 green screen? This is my first day shooting on green screen in my life. I've never shot on green screen before Supercell. So I was like, I just felt overwhelmed, and then seeing the cranes rise up the Sabrina to do her fly in, and then the crane to bring in the car for Andre to lift it. I was like, how did it get here? Like, this was mad for me to film on YouTube. So it was a surreal moment, and learning all them stunts. It was really like a film school. As I was saying to someone yesterday, I feel like the process of Supercell kind of was like my film school, and that's what it was like. It was like 4 years of going through every stage of how to make a movie, how to tell a story visually, and that's what it was. That's what it was filmed. So.
Man. Um, it's so great. It really is. And it's like, and the music, like I said, talk to me a little bit about when you were writing it, and also just the idea that you've got so many jobs on this show, in terms of what you've done, and music's also a part of your life. But is it hard to almost kind of pass that on to, you obviously have clear ideas about what you want, but passing that on to other people? And who was the right people to work with on this? And when you started thinking about how music would sit both in terms of diegetically within the narrative, but also that kind of score element to it as well.
The music was it actually got tricky because we had we went through a few different composers, like not because they weren't all great. It was just hard to find a sound that I felt represented the
Yeah.
show. So I remember we got a version. We just had a new composer in, and I had a version of the score that we worked up together for the first couple episodes, and I had a screening very rough, no VFX, for with two filmmaker friends of mine, just to say, look, give me a gist of your thoughts of it. And I didn't, not to watch the music, just to see what they thought of the show. They watched it and they had
Mm.
their compliments and had their critiques and but they said one thing. They said, "Bro, that music ain't you. That music ain't you," because it was a very traditional score. And I was like, "Yeah, but it's traditional. It's like Hamzin one." And they was like, "Bro, that's your rap, man. Like, the show is rap, man. You watch this show, you see all your personality, you see all your attitude, you see your South London, and the music just don't sound." And I was like, so I remember calling up Netflix like the next day, like, I need somebody else. And then it's like, you just got this
Hmm.
person. And I'm like, I know, but he's not the right person. Um, he's great what he does, but for what I need, that's not in his toolbox. Got a new
Yeah.
person in, and I said, I want it to feel like the show. The show's an all black cast, high end television show and sci fi, and their powers are set on something meaningful. I want a sound that feels like that. Give me something African tribal. So we started thinking
Hmm.
African tribal drum sounds, and it's kind of like it comes from the ancestors, and we finally got into a rhythm with it, and it just became like a unique piece, man. And the thing with Netflix, because I came from a musical background, there was a lot of pressure on me from them when they was like, "We want the music to be unique. We want the music to be unique. Like, that's part of the reason we got you. We want the music to be unique." I was like, okay, so we read that took a long. That was probably the process that took after the VFX, that took a long time. We had that took a lot of work. Where we had to hand it in by a certain time, but the music, I can't,
Yeah.
you can't rush it. It's not ready, so I can't rush the music. There's nothing I can do about it. You just have to be patient with that. What we need to upload it. I'm like, I understand that, but I'm not. I can't rush the music. It was a long process, and the guy, my composer I ended up with, is a new guy called Silky. I think he can have a great career.
So good.
Silky, yeah, he done really well, man, and it was just he really got into my mind of what I wanted to do, and we went back and forth on loads of different sounds and different instruments. We done the live recordings for it. We had the choirs to do some of the harmonies, and I'm really happy with where it landed, man. And obviously on top of that, we had a lot of the soundtrack of the sort of music. And the thing with that, I wanted the music to be a true representation of what it's like to live in South London. So when you hear
Yeah.
the Caribbean music in the house parties, that's what the kids are dancing to when they go to house parties with that and the rap. And then when you hear certain songs, like you could just see, I don't know, you'll see Michael in the street delivering a parcel, but you're hearing drum and bass in the car driving past him in the traffic, because that's London. Windows are down and people are pumping their music. And
Yeah.
what I wanted it to be, anyone watching this show from America, Africa, or some other parts of Europe, to say, "Oh, so that's what London's like." Like, you want to know what London's like? Watch Supercell. Take away the superpowers. That is exactly day to day of especially the black experience of living in London. So and we just wanted music to kind of match on that, and I think we done that. A lot of the artists are from South London that have got music on there.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was a very intricate situation. That wasn't something we could rush, and it was something that was getting us into trouble in the sense of, we're going to be late with this. That is in Netflix, like, we're going to be late with this. It's like, I can't rush a painting. You can't rush a painting being painted. Like, you can't rush it. What do you want me to do? You saying I'm going to be late doesn't make it come faster. We have to sit and create. The same way I have to think and create the script, same way I have to direct it, I have to think, what is the next step for this? It has to progress. So they understood, and we took it serious. And I hope that people realize how unique the score is.
Yeah. Let's talk about Gets.
Oof, yeah, it's my guy. um, Gets, man. It's funny. Like, he auditioned and he auditioned, and he told me, funny. He told me his technique was to learn the lines. He would go to the studio when he got the audition. He read all the lines out, him and who he's speaking to, all of them in the studio, and then played them to himself every single night up until the audition. So they're stuck in his head. So then when he come to the
Yeah.
audition, he just had it down, and he was honestly like, I don't know if you saw what episode. You've probably seen up to 4. When you finish the season and you see Gets his progression as an actor in it, I think he's about to go on a whole other career path.
That's you seem to have a bit of a knack of that, to be honest, of kind of seeing potential in people and giving them the opportunity to kind of fly.
Yeah, I do love breaking new talent. I love giving people opportunities. Like, even if you saw Digger D inside there, he was very adamant that he wanted his debut to be in Supercell and to be with me as an actor. So Yeah, man, I'm hoping that these guys have their career and I can say, yeah, well, I put them in their first film properly. So, yeah, man, Gets really took it serious as well. They ordered all the artists.
Yeah. Well, they want to do it right for you, don't they, as well? That's the whole point. You're giving them the chance, but they want to make sure that they're kind of, they're bringing their A game when it comes to what they're doing, because they're doing it for you as a.
Yeah, no, they definitely didn't want to let me down. They didn't want to let themselves down. They didn't want to let the other crew members down. Like, even though they're big rappers in their field, they didn't disrespect the actors with, well, I'm a superstar here, I can do what they want. They was studying off the actors that have been training all their lives for these roles and trying to keep up with them and not drag down the scene. So that was nice for them, and it's good, man. I think people are gonna. No one knows that Digga D or Gets are in here. We released a trailer in a couple of weeks where we revealed them both. So I know for a lot of their fans, they're gonna be really excited to see
Yeah.
their favorite rappers in this show. So
Yeah. Did you have to kind of like? I mean, was there kind of a lot of offering up of like, oh, I'll do music for you, I'll do this, in terms of them bringing that side of it to the production in a way, in terms of,
it's
it's like yeah.
it's mad because we needed Digger to have a diss song for the Tower Boys for the characters. He was keen, but what I realized, they wanted it to be separate. They didn't want to be known as the rappers in there. They didn't want to. They wasn't keen to put their songs
Like
in. They
that.
was just like, no, I don't want to be. I don't want you to think of Diggity. I don't want you to think of Gets. I just want you to think of me with my character. Like just so they wasn't keen. They didn't want this to be. They didn't want you to be remembered as a rapper in this. So and that both of them was like that, which was weird. So when I think about it, it's funny because even when I watch Top Boy, I noticed I never heard any Kano songs. Right, the whole season, I don't think I heard any Kano song. And I think it's you just want, and that's the reason why I never put a Get song in the show. Because I don't want you to start thinking Gets the talented MC.
Yeah.
I wanted you to see him as crazy, a psychopath, flipping sociopath person who doesn't think straight. So I say they wasn't soundtracks. They were fine after the show, and it's not going to be in the show. But for the show, they wasn't keen to blur the lines.
Yeah. And mentioning Kano as well, I thought he was absolutely amazing in the kitchen. Oh my God, absolutely phenomenal. And that I thought he did such a great job.
Yeah, Kane is a strong
So
actor.
good. Oh my God, yeah. Listen, I'm so excited for people to see this, and I can't wait to see the last couple of episodes. And I hope there's more.
So do I. That makes two of us. That makes two of us. Hopefully, if season one comes out and people take to it, I'm sure Netflix will do what's right for the people.
I hope so. I think you've done something really brilliant in terms of, you've been so I don't know what the word is, but you've been so passionate about this, your community, in terms of South London and really representing that on screen. But I feel like the way that you've done it and the scale that you've done it has this huge worldwide appeal of kind of you're showing that community in such a different way that's never been seen before. But it's so entertaining and so exciting. I think you've done an amazing job.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's a bloody pleasure getting to chat to you.
You too. Nice
And I hope
meeting
we
you.
get to do it again. Yeah, you too. Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
your time, Andrew. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.